what is regression analysis? And regression analysis is simply a statistical method. And it is basically used for cost estimation or estimation of relationships between two types of variables. And I believe at this point, you already know which variables we talk about here. We talk about dependent variables and independent variables. And these dependent variables and independent variables can be one or more. So a dependent variable is one, and the independent variables can always vary. It can be one, it can be two, they can be three, right? So you need to look, we are looking at that relationship because we want to estimate certain cost aspects. So I've talked about two variables, and I've talked about dependent variable, dependent variable, and I've talked about independent variable. We are under regression analysis cost estimation. Now, I've said it's a statistical method that helps you to come up with a relationship, or to estimate a relationship between a dependent variable, and these independent variables can be more than one, can be more than two. So it can say one or more independent variables. So remember that. Now, in this aspect, there is always a linear regression model which you can come up with, or which is there used to express this relationship between these variables. Normally, we have types of regression analysis. And types of regression analysis, we have simple regression analysis and multiple regression analysis. So when we talk about the types of regression analysis, there is simple and simple regression. And when we talk about simple regression, simply we talk about our argument is based on the number of independent variables. Argument is based on the number of independent variables. So simple regression is one independent variable analysis. So you are analyzing a relationship between independent and a dependent variable. So one independent variable. Remember, dependent variable is always one. For example, when you talk about cost as an dependent variable, then independent variables can always be more than one. So what aspects affects your cost? If it is the units, the number of units you're producing, it affects your cost. Yes. Again, there may be some other elements that will always affect your total cost. So we are going to come to that as we move. The another type of regression analysis, which also depends on the number of independent variables, is we talk about a multiple regression. Multiple regression, and the argument is still based on the number of independent variables. The number of independent variables is still the argument that we are using here. And in this case, we are having two or more independent variables. Two or more independent variables. Two or more independent variables. Now, with that simple, understanding of the two types of regression analysis, we now know that we will do cost estimation to analyze a relationship between variables in two perspectives. Where we have one independent variable, we are simply doing a simple regression analysis. And where we are doing a relationship analysis of more than two independent variables, more than one independent variable, maybe two or more, then now we are focusing on multiple regression analysis. So we start with a simple regression analysis, and we ask ourselves, in the coverage of BDA, you talked about regression analysis in management accounting, but under BDA, what the examiner wants you to focus on is the application area. What is the application of regression analysis? We said, I wrote there cost estimation. So you want to do cost estimation, or you want to do forecasting, or you want to identify cost drivers. So that is the main use of regression analysis, or the main focus in the BDA coverage. So we want to come to this simple regression equation that focuses on simple regression analysis where we have one independent variable and the equation is usually y equal to a plus bx. This is an equation that all of us are aware of, and we've met it, we've interacted with it at one point or the other. And we know what these initials represent, where we know very well that in this case, y denotes the dependent variable. Y represents dependent variable. I said dependent variable is always one. It is what depends on some other variables. So in cost estimation, usually the y in most cases will be used to represent total cost. The y will be used to represent total cost. That's a very important aspect that you have to make sure is at your fingertips. Then when we go to the a, the a in this case usually is used to represent the intercept because it's a constant. So some people prefer calling it the y-intercept. In some other quarters, you will get just the term intercept. And again, do not be confused when you hear someone say this is equivalent to denote fixed cost. Remember, we are doing cost estimation. Fixed costs do not depend on the number of quantities that you produce or any other factor. Fixed cost is usually a constant amount, regardless. If you're paying rent for your factory warehouse, that rent, whether you store goods full to capacity or it is quarter full, that warehouse rent is constant. You'll still have to pay that warehouse rent. That is an element of a fixed cost. So it's a good point to understand that the A in this simple regression equation represent fixed cost in cost estimation aspect. So it is always constant. Now, when we go to the next bit on the B and the X, let me talk about the B first. The B in that regression equation, as you already know, represents the slope. In other areas, somebody might opt not to use the word slope, but say gradient. That still means the same thing. Gradient still means the same thing. But again, because we are doing cost estimation, it's good to always relate each of these elements in this equation to cost aspects. We started by the Y, we related it to total cost. We went to A, related it to fixed cost. Now we are in B. What cost aspect does B represent? B represent variable cost per unit. Variable cost per unit. It's good to always remember to relate these aspects in cost estimation. It will help you big time. Again, in some other areas, you will get someone calling it a different name, and whenever you meet the word coefficient, then it should also not worry you. It still means the same aspect, the same B in that equation is also a coefficient. Now, this understanding is important. It will help you. So please make sure you note it. Now, we want to look at the application of this equation in cost estimation or forecasting, like I've mentioned, or to identify cost drivers. And from these names that we've given, which element in this equation can also be used to denote a cost driver? Which element can we also relate to a cost driver? Because that term is also important to understand. The term of cost driver is also important to understand. Somebody to remind us. The X. All right. Oh, I had not come to the X. I had not brought on board the X. Now, X here is the independent variable. And again, the same X can also be called the cost driver. Thank you, the two members there who have responded. That's very good. So we can also call it cost driver. Yes, cost driver, independent variable cost driver. Now, I will not go further than that because that is a very, a very important concept that we have looked at there. And when we talk about cost estimation, members, and I believe you already know that because we're using Excel as the major tool to do our BDA analysis or to do our BDA paper, there are also other tools that can always be used to analyze the relationship in statistics. Statistics provide different tools. There is Python. It's also a tool to do, a statistical tool to analyze data. Again, you're also aware there is another tool called the R. R is also, a tool that is used to do analysis, but those are at a bit higher levels. So when we talk about linear cost estimation, besides the regression analysis or regression method that we are talking about here, you should also be aware there is another method called high-low method. High-low method is also a cost estimation method, high-low method, besides the regression analysis that we are talking about here. So for now, we are not talking about high-low method, but we are focusing on regression. But you just need to know it is also a method. Apart from that, within the BDA syllabus coverage, high-low method is also well mentioned. So you have to make sure you have some glimpse of the concept underlying it, the same way we are doing for regression. Then there are also some other methods, but most of them are not within the coverage. Cost estimation or analysis is wide because when dealing with data, a lot of things come in. But do not also forget an aspect of scatter graph. Scatter graph is also an aspect that is mentioned in the BDA syllabus coverage. We are going to look at questions that also test on the same. We look at the concept underlying that. How do you go about high-low method? How do you have something about scatter graph? And how do you relate it to regression analysis? Right? Now, let's focus on our regression that we are looking at. We're just reminding ourselves of the concepts, which you already know. And I told you, it's not a matter of you having interacted or heard about it. It's a matter of you remembering and having the concepts so that whenever you bump onto a question, you know how to go about it. Yes? Now, when we talk about the number of variables, there's a situation where we have more than one independent variable. And in this equation that we've given is a simple equation that is only bringing on board one independent. That is the x. X is only one here. But how do you express the same equation where you have more than one independent variable? It is still the same aspect of the equation, but now you'll bring on board the other independent variable. So you'll say y equal to A. A is the constant. That one always constant, never changes. And I've given you alternative terms. Somebody can call it intercept, y-intercept, or the fixed cost element, and it is constant. Then you talk about B, x1. X1 denotes the first independent variable. So where you have, for example, 2 or more, I want to give an equation where we only have 2. You can also talk about bx2, bx2 like that, bx2 like that. So that x2 is the second independent variable. And one of the questions that I've given you in that file will test you on more than one independent variable, and we are going to look at it so that we see how interesting and how you apply the same. All right. Now, with that, up to that level, up to that point, I think there is nothing further that you need to worry about. You just need to ask yourself, how do you play around with this equation? And how do you make each of these initials the subject of that formula? You know that Y represents the total cost because we are doing cost estimation. A denotes fixed cost. And then B denotes the gradient or the variable cost element. Then when we come to the X, that is the independent variable, can also be called a cost driver. And again, I'm forgetting another term. In some other areas, you'll get somebody calling it activity level. Activity level. Whenever someone asks you about activity level, it's still the same thing that the person is asking you using different terms. Now, we will talk about these other methods later, as I had mentioned, but for now, let's focus on regression, and I want us to look at the first question. Let's all look at how to apply this concept under this question, December 2022, question 25. And as we do that, I want to reiterate clearly, and I want you to note, whenever you are running regression analysis, you're doing cost estimation, interpretation of your output is key. It is important. Do not just give figures. You know, BDA is practical, meaning it is preparing you to real life application of this concept. That's why I mentioned, I asked you, why do you think regression analysis is important in BDA? It is important not to test you on the physical examination aspects you did about management accounting. You did a lot of calculations and workings. When you come to this level, you are looking at the relationship in real life application. So that's why I'm saying whenever you have an output after doing your regression analysis, remember that output needs interpretation. And we are going to see what kind of output do you normally get and how do you interpret each and every element. All right? I hope members we are together. Somebody is asking that I maximize my screen, and I've done that to 100%. Confirm if now it's better. It should be better now. It should be better now, right? So let's all now look at what we have in that question. And we have, I will read the question so that we get to see what the examiner is testing. Now, a Farmgate Company Limited produces and sells shovels. The company provides the following data, and the data has quantities of shovels produced, and they also give us the related production costs for the calendar year 2021. Now, members, we have the three elements there, three columns. One is for the month, and the year is 2021. We have quantities produced in units and again, production cost there. Now, however much you might have interacted with such type of a question, when you get a question like this, you need to always remember the concept. And if you are able to remember it and be able to do it on your own without looking at the workings that you may have or without looking at the answers, then you shall have mastered the concept. And required part there, they're asking us to determine the variable cost per unit and the total variable costs using regression analysis, 6 marks. And they're telling us in part B that we estimate the total production cost if the following number of units are produced. 100,000 in Roman 1, 150,000 in Roman 2, and in Roman 3, they're asking us to work with 200,000 units. And again, they're giving another instruction by saying, include the lower and the upper boundaries at 95% confidence intervals. 12 marks. Part C of the required, we are told to prepare a chart. Remember, preparation of dashboard is always mandatory after each and every question, and you need to make sure you know how to go about it in all the compulsory areas, apart from FR section, because in FR you don't have to present any chart, but you can always do that in your presentations to aid understanding. Now, prepare a chart plotting the predicted Y. Why are they using the word predicted? Because you are using estimation. This is a cost estimation method. That's why they're using the word predicted Y versus actual Y from the regression function. And you are told that one is the function in A above. Then you see what I was talking about is the interpretation bit of it. You will not score these 2 marks if you do not interpret your results. So make sure you are well aware and understand how to interpret the output or the results you get from the regression analysis cost estimation method, members. Now, the concept the examiner is asking you here is what we've discussed. So the question is, how do we go about this question? It is very simple. Look at part A. We are told to provide or to determine the variable cost per unit and the total variable costs. Using what? Regression analysis. So I don't want to waste time. We look at this, independent variables we have. We have cost, quantity, and the production cost. Quantity and production cost. So somebody tell me or tell us, between these two elements, which one denotes independent variable and which one denotes dependent variable? Which one depends on the other? And which one stands alone? Which one stands alone? I know we have independent ladies. Ladies nowadays, this generation, they talk about independence, but are they really independent? The question is on your side, all right? Somebody is saying there, Val, quantity X costs Y. Quantity produced is X, okay? Cost is the depend on quantity, cost depend on quantity, right? Production cost, okay, is the Y, unit is X, and Y is the cost, all right? Thank you, members. And I can tell that we have an idea and we understand how to allocate the dependent and the independent variables, which is very good. So, members, why don't we go straight away and slot in the variable names? And to slot in the variables, I may just want to introduce another column or another row on top of them, and I don't want to really interfere with what was given there. And Jaden is saying production cost can be explained by quantity produced. Thank you. So everyone who has contributed, I'm not seeing any conflicting answer. All of you are giving the same answers. And we all agree that X, quantity produced is our X in our equation. And you know what X stands for in our equation? That is the independent variable or the cost driver or the activity level. You see the relationship? Very good. Production cost now represents our Y. Then when we have the X and the Y, production cost and quantity produced, the examiner is asking us in part A that we determine the variable cost per unit. Variable cost per unit. Then, again, the total variable costs using the regression. Now, how do we normally get the total variable cost? And I believe you also can relate total variable cost. You know that variable cost is an element of costs. We have fixed cost and we have variable costs. And now when we focus on the variable cost alone, when you get the total variable cost, what we need to take is very simple. Take variable cost per unit. Variable cost per unit, and then you multiply that by the quantity or the number of units. You will get your total variable cost. Very simple like that. Now, that is part of what the examiner is asking in this part A, total variable cost and variable cost per unit. So from what we have, why don't we go ahead and get, because we have variable cost per unit, so we need to get what is the variable cost per unit. We already have the number of units and we need variable cost per unit. So using regression analysis, I would want us to do regression analysis so that we have our variable cost per unit, and of course we have the quantity that will give us total variable cost. So regression analysis, very simple, and I believe all of us in this meeting, we already have the regression analysis tool pack. Is there someone who doesn't know where to get the regression analysis tool pack? Or is there someone who doesn't have it? Let me just start from there. I believe all of us have the tool pack that we need to use to run the regression. Is there someone who doesn't have it? We already have it. Thank you. We already have it. Now, let's all go to where we are getting the analysis tool pack and we run it. Winnie is saying she doesn't have. I believe Winnie is a she. If a Winnie is a he, you'll just pardon me. I'm just using my general, perception of the name. I may be wrong. I've met several several men having female names. I don't want to mention where because of obvious reasons, but I have to be very careful. Okay, Winnie is a she. Thank you. Now Winnie doesn't have it. Winnie, if you don't have it, it's very simple. Let's move together. Let's go to file Winnie. And any other person who may not have it, please click on your file tab on your Excel window. On the left side of your home button, click on file. After you've clicked on file, I want you to go down and get on more options. Once you come to the more options part, we need to go to the add-ins. Then once you click on the add-ins, I want you to go to, you'll see this part, write and manage. Do not click on anything else in this window. And say, okay. No, it disappears. Let me go back again. Options. Then you will see the add-ins section. You see Excel add-ins. There is a drop-down window, but do not really check on something else. We're just going to Excel add-ins, and you click on Go. Click on Go. There will be this pop-up window of add-ins. That pop-up window has several tools. You'll see Analysis Toolpack, VBA. You'll see Euro currency. I'm reading from my window. I also have another regression analysis tool called the eViews. For those of us who are doing economics, those people who have done economics in this meeting, you know what eViews does. It's also a cost estimation tool, a very powerful one for advanced level analysis and presentations. But at this level, eViews is above BDA. So you see also Solver. Please just click on Analysis Toolpack and confirm by saying, okay. Then Winnie and any other person who did not have it, when you go now to your window on, on data, you need to be able to see data analysis under analyze. There is a tab that also that now should bring data analysis. I want Winnie to confirm. Winnie, have you done that, and do you already have it now? Do you have it now, Winnie? Do you have it now? Is Winnie there? Winnie, we are waiting for your confirmation. Done. Thank you. All right. So all of us, let's move to the regression analysis toolpack and see what concept and how do we interpret. It's very simple. Regression analysis is one of the very simple areas in management accounting, and I hope you should pray that an examiner brings you this such type of a question, because once you have the concept, I tell you, you will do this question in less than 2 minutes, and you'll have to score you'll get all the answers correct. So it's a very, very simple area. So when you go to the data analysis toolpack, you click on it, there will be a pop-up window. And in the pop-up window, it lists you all the data analysis tools that are within your reach. So once you've activated your regression analysis toolpack, you simply go to regression and you select on it. You will see a lot of these other tools that are being listed, the t-test, the z-test. These ones are advanced. Just go and choose on regression and confirm by saying okay, and then you'll see another pop-up window now for regression. When it shows up, it asks you to put in certain elements, and these are the concepts that I want you to remember and make sure you are good at them. If you give it a wrong input, do not expect a right output. So that's why you have to be very careful. Now, the Y range. Y range. I know it looks simple, but if you choose on a wrong Y range, then you have a problem. And somebody to tell us, when choosing the Y range, of course, we've already identified which is our Y. We've identified which one is our X for the X range bit of it. What I want to test, do you know how to select the Y range and the X range? Do you include the title or do you exclude it? I just wanted to confirm. It's a very simple concept, and if you get it wrong in an exam, you will fail not because you didn't know, but because you are in a hurry. You overlooked certain concepts. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Metrin, Pataki, Vayo, and Wilkister, and Mr. DM there. I hope it's a Mr. There is Emily there, Victor. Thank you, Realme. Those guys are saying include the label, and I agree. Members, remember, when inputting your Y range and the X range, do not worry about the title. Once you've typed in the title, that is the Y, just include it. So under Y range, I'll click on that cell, then I highlight all the elements under Y, including that title. Now, that label, once you include it, members, once you include the label, do not forget about this tab. Always make sure you check on this tab that I have labels in my Y range and the X range. We've put in the Y range, and I've already marked the labels because it's very important to remember. If you do not mark the labels, Excel will assume you've selected a range of figures or numbers only. Please remember to always, when you include the label, that is the Y, or if you want to include the name, if you don't want to use Y, but you want to use production cost, it's okay. but make sure you select on it and select on labels part so that Excel knows the first row is having a label, not the figures. Come to the X range and do the same. You highlight them. Of course, we have marked on the labels. Now, on confidence level, in the question, the examiner told us something about confidence level, especially in part B, there is this other part they were saying, include the lower and upper boundaries at 95% confidence intervals. Now, the confidence levels, remember, we are doing cost estimation. And whenever you are estimating, you can never be 100%. There is always a margin of error, members. There is always a margin of error. You are simply doing an estimation. That's why we talk about confidence level. To what level of confidence will this tool bring to you? Yes, and by default, regression analysis Excel was, was built with a confidence level of 95%. Whether you select on this confidence level tab or you leave it unchecked, your output will have 95%. So in this case, even though in part B they asked us about 95%, even if we do not check on this tab, our output will have 95% lower and upper confidence levels. Members, let's note that. And if we mark it, what difference will it bring? When we mark this confidence level tab, the difference that will come is that we will have two outputs. We will have two outputs of 95% confidence levels, upper and lower. And if you unmark it, because it is the same confidence level, you will only get one upper and lower confidence levels. So please note that. So in this question here, you do not have to mark it because this one will be by default. If we mark it, you will see we will have two outputs of the same. That's good to note. Then you don't have to mark the constant is 0. Do not have to mark that. That one has no impact on your output. You don't even, this one is not important. So just leave it there. Now, the output range or output options there, you can decide to tell Excel that the output or the output that you're giving me, do not include it on the same sheet. I want it on a new workbook. But in our case, we do not have to go to the new workbook. Let's have our output within the same sheet. And I will select on the output range, but then I want to tell Excel where I want my output range, and I will tell it that please just give it to me here so that my output appears here. For that person who wants to select on a new workbook, you can go ahead and do that. But in an exam situation, you have to name that tab. You see the tabs down here. You have to name it so that the examiner gets to see where your answer is. That's why we normally prefer just select within the same workbook. Select where you want your output to be. It will give the examiner easy time to see your answers. Remember, these are human beings marking the paper. Some of them. All right. So once you've selected on the output range where you want your answer to appear, now come to residuals. You see the residuals here. These ones now will give you elements for interpretation. Elements for interpretation. At this level, they may not make a lot of sense. The residuals and the residual plots, line of fit plots, standardized residuals, they may not make a lot of sense now. But when you're doing advanced data analysis and cost estimation, they will make a lot of sense and you will understand what they all mean. But within the BDA coverage, this one is a bit at a higher level. So this is not important for you at this time, but you need to know what are residuals. How do you come up with residual plots? It's the same as presenting your data on a visual. You are doing visualization, data visualization, because it will plot for you what you've estimated. It will plot for you the actuals, and it will also come up with a line of best fit. But that is not what the examiner was asking. You can go ahead. No one will penalize you if you select on all of them and get your results that shows them. But for now, allow me not to mark them. And what do I do after that? I just say, okay, and Excel will do its work and give me an output. The most important thing is to understand the interpretation. Now, I checked on the confidence level of 95%, despite having, the default 95%. So that's why I told you, you will see two of them, two sets. You will see lower and upper 95%, and again, there is another lower and upper 95. This simply tells you the default one has come in, but again, because we checked on it, it's bringing another set of the same. So that's why I said, if the confidence level is still 95, you don't have to check on that box. I hope you understand. All right, now, this output here, everyone can always get it. What everyone cannot always get is to understand, to interpret what this output mean. Now, that's what I want us to focus on. But before we focus on that, let's see what the examiner wanted us to do. We want to determine the variable cost per unit to help us get the total variable cost, which of course is part of this question to score for us the 6 marks that was given. All right? I know 6 marks was written somewhere, but because maybe we chose here to have our output, it overrides what was below. But I remember seeing some 6 marks somewhere. 12 is here. Okay, so just let me move this one aside because we don't need it here now. Let me move it so that we only remain with that part for our output. Now, members, once you have this output, we want to see variable cost per unit, and I want to refer you to the estimation that you are doing. Remember, the regression equation remains the same. We are using regression analysis to come up with it. So somebody to just tell us which one in this our output, what denotes variable cost per unit. I had given you something about that here. Remember when I was naming the elements in that equation, did you see B? B can also be called the slope, can also be called the gradient, can also be called what? Variable cost per unit. That's why I told you to note this simple concept. Once you understand it, you are good. Now, where is our B in the outputs? We have intercept. You see it's written intercept. Then we also have this other one called the X. So that X which is being given there, what does it denote? That X denotes our variable cost per unit. And it is simply the B. Yes, they're using the term X. Yes, Jaden, thank you. They're using the term X, but what it simply means, that X given there in the output denotes B. This intercept is the A in our equation.
Excuse,
Yes.
excuse.
Yes.
My regression output range is missing. I don't know what I'm supposed to do now.
Do you know how to select the input range and the output range?
Yes, I've done it.
So your output is showing what?
It is saying that output range missing, please re-enter. So I don't know what is missing because I've followed the procedures you have done.
Did you select where you want your output to appear?
Yes.
So most probably where you selected your output to appear, and you know, I want you to just go back to that data tab and go to the data analysis. When you come to the data analysis and you say, okay, you see the output range, you have to choose where you want it to appear. That's why it's telling you that what message did it give you? Output range is what? Is missing, right?
Oh, yes.
So you did not check on this output. You did not click on a cell where you want your output to appear. That's why
Okay.
output range is missing. So once you select on this output range, that is not enough. Select on it, but again, come to this cell here and choose where you want it to appear. Just click on this other space on any cell. Then
Okay.
you shall have told it. Then when you confirm, it will bring you this output.
Thank you. It has
Okay.
come.
Okay, so members, I was saying this A is the intercept, then B is the variable cost per unit because we had given all the alternative names for it. Now, we have everything we need to answer the question part A. So let's go ahead and answer part A. To answer part A is very simple. Before we come to interpretation of the others, which we are going to come to, I want us just to answer part A. Now, variable cost per unit, determine variable cost per unit and the total variable cost using regression analysis. So members, very simple. Variable cost per unit, variable cost per unit. We already have it there. And I will simply want to refer to it. This one here, under coefficients column there, choose on that variable cost per unit, which is 95.17217 coefficients. That's the answer that is being required there. So bring it there as the variable cost per unit, and that is not enough. That is, we've answered one of it. And the examiner also wants us to do total variable cost, and I'd written a formula here to get the total variable cost. Now that we already have the variable cost per unit, we can go ahead and get the total variable cost. Yes, members? So that simply tells us that the total variable cost here, let me write here total variable cost like that. So I want just to use this column here to get the total variable costs for each month. From January to December. We come here to this cell and I put an equal sign. We go and refer to where we have our variable cost per unit. You can go and refer to the variable cost per unit on the output, or you can come and refer to this one. It's still the same thing. Yes, I would want to go and refer to the one in the output. And once I've done that, remember, I want to autofill my formula. So what do? The usual thing, make sure you fix it. Make sure you fix it. How do you fix it? Lock that cell fully. Absolute reference. Once you've done that, multiply it by the quantity produced. Which quantity? For January, it is 150. Do not lock anything at this point. Why? Because you want to drag our formula and we would need it to capture the other units in the other months to the end. Once you've done that, I use my control enter to get that answer there. Yes, then I put a comma style to make it look understandable like that. Because we are talking about total variable cost. We have the answer there. 2 decimal places is not bad. Then to autofill from for the rest of the months, you choose to either double tap at the lower right corner of that cell. There is a dotted area. You can double tap, or you can hold on to the tail and pull it to the end. Yes, either way, you'll still get the work done. Because the range of data is not large, you can hold it by the tail and pull it. But of course, for the person who wants to double tap, you can still do the same. So long as there are no empty rows in between, it will autofill to the end like that. All right? All right. Somebody saying, show where you got the variable cost per unit. I hope someone is not in horizontal position. Variable cost per unit is the X coefficient in the output. You can see where my cursor is, this one here. This is where we got the variable cost per unit. Remember, we had discussed these elements before. This was the start. And the reason why I started with this is for you to understand the relationship. You see, we named the B in our equation, and B is what denoted our variable cost per unit. In our output, this is the B. Yes, the output comes with the letter X, but let this X not confuse you. This is not the dependent variable. This X here denotes the B, the slope, the gradient, or variable cost per unit. All right? Winnie does not know how to double tap things. Winnie, double tapping things is very simple. Very, very simple. Very simple to double tap things. Winnie, if you want to double tap something, let me just delete all this for the sake of that member. You will come to this cell, and Winnie, you'll see that cell has a lower right corner. Lower right corner, there is a dotted area. You see this dotted area? That dotted area is not appearing anywhere on this cell. Around the corners of this rectangle, it is only at the lower right corner. So that is the tail. So this tail of the angry rabbit, you can either hold it by the tail and pull it to where you want it to go, or you can hit it twice. You double tap. So when you come here, put your cursor there and double tap it. It will autofill to the end. Or you can simply hold it and pull it. Winnie, are you now okay? Confirm that you know how to double tap things now. Do you know how to double tap things? All right, very good. Very, very good. Okay, so members, we have our variable, total variable cost there, and that is part A done. Well, that's what the examiner wanted us to do in part A. We've already answered it. Now, we are coming to the interpretation bit. And as we come to the interpretation bit, I would want you members to all look at part B so that it helps us to interpret. Now, the reason why I'm avoiding going straight to interpretation of all these elements. Remember, there is the standard error, there is the t-statistics, there is the p-value, there is, I've already explained lower and upper confidence levels. Now, there is also the residuals, there is this, the R squared. Now, not all of them will be asked at this point, but you need to know. You see the significance F. These are very interesting, very, very interesting elements in this, in data analysis. Data analysis, very, very interesting. Yeah, so when we come to the regression statistics, this is an area where I want you to focus on. And basically, look at the multiple or the R squared, the multiple R, and the adjusted R squared. Now, these ones you'll be required to interpret, and you need to know what each of them mean. It's not about just running the regression and you keep quiet. No, you have to get to interpret. And Rose Joy is asking, is it okay when my values are slightly different from X? I have 94.95. Okay, I'm wondering why you have a different, coefficient when we ran the same type of data. That could be just a slight difference in the figures. Maybe there's a slight difference in the figures, but really the decimal places there, if you round up to the nearest whole number, our figures will still be the same, because this is 95. When you round off yours, it will still be 95. Yeah, so the difference, because we are doing cost estimation, it cannot be 100%. So I think that one should not be much of a worry. So just relax. So part B is asking us to do something to estimate the production cost with if the following units are produced. Members, we are looking at the concepts being tested here. And I want to believe that you now understand the examiner was testing a simple concept. The examiner really wanted you to come up with the total variable cost. But in coming up with the total variable cost, they know that you will need the variable cost per unit. Now, telling you to use regression analysis, the examiner knows that you can easily run the regression analysis and get your output. But very few people may be able to identify which one now out of this output window, all these elements, which one will denote the variable cost per unit. The examiner knows, and that was the concept the examiner was testing. So please remember, the variable cost per unit or the slope or the gradient is denoted in this output under coefficients by the letter X, and it is this figure here. So whenever you get a question and you'll be required to run the regression analysis, please note what this represents. Intercept is normally written and it is the same way. That is the A, the fixed cost. Yeah, but when you come to this other one, please do not be confused with the X. Do not think that this X here, that letter being given there, yes, I know in our equation, we have y equal to a plus bx. Do not just simply take that x and replace it with the x that is coming in the output. No, this one is the slope or the b, variable cost per unit. That was what the examiner was testing. And you simply know how to identify it. You already have your 6 marks and you go home happy. Yes. Now, when we come to part B, the examiner is still testing on the same concept that we have discussed, but now we are using figures now to do our cost estimation. And the cost estimation we are required to do before we do it, I want us to interpret and come up with a cost estimation equation from our output. We already have element A, element B. Yes, so I want us to come up with a cost estimation. So the cost function here, the cost function here, the cost function that the examiner wants you to come up with here. Now, let us come up with cost functions to denote 3 scenarios. Let us come up with cost functions to denote 3 scenarios. Let me add the word S. Let me add the letter S To show you, we have cost functions, not cost function. It is not one. There are three. I know someone is now wondering, how do we have three cost functions and we only have one output? All right. And we only have one independent variable. I know we only have one independent variable. Yes, but we have three cost functions. From this regression output, how do we get the three cost functions? That is a concept that you please remember. Please, please. Very important concept that you don't take for granted. Now, the first one, I want us to come up with the three. We have a base cost function. We have lower 95% confidence level cost function of its own. We have upper 95% confidence level cost function. There are three. Those are the three scenarios I was talking about. Now, what is the base cost function here? Now, why the cost function you already know, we've discussed it when we were starting this class. Okay, y equal to a plus bx. Now, we already know where is our a. It is given as the intercept in the output, this figure here. And because I'm writing this equation, I cannot refer to it. It will not come. I'm starting with y equal to. So I would simply go and type it. 3, I think this 3 is 1,000. 3,977, 636, like that. 636. Yes, I know. Does it have decimal places? Does it have decimal places? Let me just expand it. Yes, oh, of course, there were decimal places that were hidden somewhere. So 636.783. We are doing cost estimation. So the 3 decimal places is good enough to capture all the variations in costs and the elements thereof. Then A plus, we are adding BX. We already have a B. Where is our B? The coefficient under X, the X, 95.172 and all those. But I'm picking 3 decimal places. So what do I pick? I pick 95.172, like that. And an X at the end of it. That is the independent variable there. I hope we are together, members. That is the base cost function. Please, once you can come up with this cost function, your problems in cost estimation in regression analysis are half solved. Half solved. Once you can identify this and come up with this cost function, you are good. You don't even have to worry. Just be confident that you are halfway solving your problems on regression analysis. Should it come? Should it? Now, lower 95, the same concept, different figures from our output window. We have everything we need. Y equals to, remember, when we talk about the lower 95, now we go and pick on the intercept under lower 95. We have 2 lower 95s because I told you the reason why they came, 2 sets of them, because we checked despite having the default output. So we can choose on any. The figures are the same. You will see the figures are the same in the 2 sets, but we are at lower 95. So in the lower 95, which one now denotes our intercept? This figure here, 916438. So 916, why am I having 2 y's there? Equal to 916, 438 with 3 decimal places, 082. That is our intercept under lower 95. Please just remember how to pick those intercepts. It will help you. That concept is important. Then plus, that is the A, plus BX. What is our B? Our B is in this line of X. Under lower 95, it is 81. It is 81.033, 81.033, like that. Then you just slap your X there. You slap it there. Right? We come to the upper 95 cost function. The same concept. Why? You now know how to identify the intercept at that point. Now we are at upper. Upper is 70,388. Let me just expand this a little bit to see if we have decimal places. put a comma style there to make it easy to see. Our upper 95 there. I also highlight that area to see for somebody to see where we are picking the figures from. Now y equal to 7,038. Is it upper 95 I'm picking? Correct. 7,038, 833.48, like that. Y equal to A plus BX. BX, our B under upper 95 is 109. I hope someone is seeing where I'm picking the figure from. 109.311. Then you slap your X at the end of it all, and you are good to go. Now, members, these are the three sets of cost functions I wanted us to come up with together. And once you've done that, now we can go and answer part B. Answer part B of this question. Using this knowledge, now this one becomes very easy. In fact, very, very easy. And I want you to see how easy it is. The units we are being given to get their estimated production costs. The first unit is the 10,000, 100,000. 100,000. The second is 150,000. Where am I getting them from? See, they're here. They're here, my friend. Just look at them here. That's where I'm picking them from, so that you don't worry. Where is this person getting these figures? That is where I'm getting them from. And because they are units, I do not need the decimal places like that. Then remember, when we are doing cost estimation, you are doing cost estimation with reference to the three types of cost functions, with reference to the three types of cost functions. Members, I hope you are getting it. Why am I saying with reference to this? Look at what the examiner added at the end of that question. Include the lower and upper boundaries. Include them. That's why I'm telling you, that's why I started with the three cost functions. It's important. All right? Good. We come here. And because we've been told to include the lower and the upper, we just follow instructions. Lower 95%. And then we are going to estimate the total cost. Of course, we've come up with the functions. So our work here is very easy. We're just copy-pasting the functions. Very easy. Then we go to the base. Then we go to the upper 95%, like that. Very easy now. Our work is very easy. We have everything we need, members. And this concept, please understand this concept. This concept will remain the same in regression analysis under BDA syllabus coverage, or even in any other area when you are doing, cost estimation. The e-views that you saw, I have that software here. The e-views interpretation is the same as the one you get in regression. They are all regression analysis, cost estimation and analysis tools. They're just different, softwares or tools, but the output and how to interpret the data and the outputs is the same. The interface may be different, but just know that you're doing the same thing. Now, the units we have, lower 95 we have, base and the upper, we have the cost functions. What do we need? Let's join the dots. Under lower 95, 100%, 100,000 units. What do? We are getting the Y. Remember, when we were starting, we said Y denotes what? Total cost. Did you see that? We are still following on the same concept, nothing different. So that's what we are doing here. We are told to come up with the total cost, or total cost is the Y. Now, that's why I'm starting by picking on the total cost. So we come here and say equal to, we are getting total cost. That is the Y. We are under lower 95. You see where lower 95 is? We are starting with the A, the intercept under lower 95. And I don't want to type anything further than this. What do? I just go to lower 95 and pick on it now that we already know how to come up with the cost function. We are following it, but now I'm referring to where the figure came from. You see that? Very good. Now, what do we do with it? We add A plus BX. Where is our B? Our B, we already know where it came from. It is this one, under lower 95, this one. And because it's a BX, we multiply by X. Which X are we multiplying it by? The number of units, which we have here as 100,000. Click on it, and you're good to go. You don't have to include any brackets. BODMAS concept will take care of itself. You can include a bracket or not. No one will penalize you. Confirm by clicking on enter, and we have our cost estimated for lower 95 under 100,000 units. Members, I hope you are seeing that. I hope you are seeing that. Now, if you look at all the elements that I've put in here, yes, I referred to those ones. So we cannot autofill, because when you want to autofill, you need to have arrangement of the variables and the figures you are referring to, so that you'll be able to easily autofill. So in this our case here, we may have to keep entering them. It's not large, it's not wide range of data, so there is really no worry. When we come here to this other part, if we wanted to autofill, we could have typed in these first two elements, the A plus B. You see the A plus B, we could type them so that they are fixed. Why was I avoiding typing them? Because of margin of error. In the decimal places, margin of error. Is someone speaking?
I'm speaking.
Yes, Winnie.
Malemo,
Yes.
if I follow your instruction just the way you've done yours, I'm getting something hash value. I'm not getting the figures. It's like an error.
Did you refer to the output figures or you typed in?
I referred.
Now, if you referred, you should not get a hash value. If you referred to A, where is A? A is under lower 95, this one. Then you added B. Then you multiplied by X, and X you refer. Remember, you may be getting a hash value because you referred to this 100,000 units with the word units in it. And is that what you did?
No, I just typed 1,000 separately. 100,000. I've just done the way you've done yours.
No, I'm wondering, there is some formatting in the area in where you are working it out. Now, can you try to is it giving you an error, or you said what? What does it show?
I think she needs to expand the cells, eh?
Does it show an error, Winnie?
Yeah.
Does it show an error?
Yeah, it shows that hash value. I think it's an error.
To expand the cell, Mwalimu.
Have you expanded your cell, the cell where you have that figure?
Expanded, yeah.
Just go to, look at my window. Look at my window. You see, if it is coming like this, is this what you have?
No, I don't have that one.
Is this not a hash?
So mine is an error. How to explain it?
Can you
In
try
short,
to
just repeat the process.
Winnie, we are following on this. We are following on this lower 95 cost function. So just go put an equal sign. Go to A. A is the intercept under lower 95. Click on the A. Refer to the cell where you have the output of A. Then add B. B is the slope or the variable cost per unit under lower 95. It is the 81. Refer to it when you add. Then you multiply by the units where you typed in your 100,000. You should be able to get a figure. Yes?
The cell is, maybe the cell is containing a numeric.
Yes, Winnie, have you done it?
Numeric to me, no?
Sorry?
No, just continue. Just continue.
Do you have the correct output now?
No, mine is showing something else.
Can you try do the same working in a different cell? Yes? Are you trying a different
Yes.
cell?
Sorry.
Is it working? Winnie, you are not speaking to us. Is it working? Winnie has gone silent.
Yes, it has worked. Thanks.
Okay.
It has worked.
All right. All right. So members, that is how to get the total cost estimation for the 100,000 units under lower 95. Now, we are still under the same lower 95. Let's do for 150,000 units, then for 200,000 units. So we come there and follow the same concept. We are getting the Y. We are still under lower 95. So I refer to the A under lower 95. Then we add B under lower 95, and we multiply that B by the number of units. We are following the same, and you get your output of total cost estimated for 150,000 units. We do the same for the third. You refer to the A under lower 95, add B under lower 95, multiply by the number of units, 200,000, and you have your output there for the estimated cost. Now, once we've done this for lower 95, we are following the same trend for the rest because we have all the functions for the three. Now, let's
Excuse me,
come to
sir.
the base. Yes?
Instead of doing each, can we like just lock the base, the intercept and the X instead?
You can
Yeah.
you can do that. I was doing this for explanation for people to understand.
Okay. Okay.
When we come to now the base and the upper 95, we will now lock because this was setting ground for people to understand where we are picking them from and why. So you're right, and I agree. Now, when we come to the base, we simply now will lock them. We are not typing because of a margin of errors, because of the many decimal places. It's safer to refer, but we can still lock them. So when we come to the base, we follow now the cost function for base, the same concept. We go to the base, and the base now we refer to the coefficients. Coefficients is the base. So we click on our A in our function y equal to A, then we simply now go ahead and fully lock it now that we already know what we are doing. Then we add A plus BX. Our B is this one here, 95. Point those decimal places. Then because that will remain constant under base, we fully go ahead and lock it. Then we multiply by the number of units now, and the number of units is 100,000. This one we do not lock because we want to autofill. Then I confirm by Control Enter. I have my output under base. Then what do? You can now double tap or you drag, and it will give you the answers for the two units, 150 and 200 respectively, like that. All right. The same we do for upper 95. Put an equal sign. We follow the cost function for upper 95. What do we do with it? We go to upper 95 part and choose on A. Because under upper 95, this is the only A we have, the intercept. We go ahead and also lock it. We add the slope, which is the B, which is 109 there with so many decimal places. Then also because that remains constant for upper 95, we go ahead and fully lock it. Then we multiply by the units, the 100,000. This one you do not lock because you want to autofill for the rest. Confirm by Control Enter. You have your upper 95 cost estimated there. You can either grab and pull or you double tap. It will autofill for the rest. And we have done all the cost estimations to answer part B of the question. This is what the examiner was testing. You now understand why coming up with the three cost functions was very important. You now understand why it was very, very important. Members, are we together before we move to part C? Are we together? Are we together before we move to part C? Are we together? Somebody confirm.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
On our regression, we have row 1, this first figure being 91, 9164, and then when we come to the upper, it's not almost the same. Because I can see row 1, 9164, 38.0616, and this one is 9164, it finishes with 08. So suppose I take the first one, is there any change?
Okay, let me check the two. You see, this one it is not different. It is just the number of decimal places.
Okay.
It is just the number of decimal places. You see, if I put it to 2 decimal places, you'll see it is coming to 0.82. I can reduce the number of decimal places like this. So you see, it is the same thing.
Okay.
It is the same thing if I increase the number of decimal places like that. You'll see it is
It's all right.
916. Yes, they're all the same. There is no difference. The difference you might see is because these ones are not into decimal places. But if we increase the
Thank
number of
you.
decimal places to 3, you'll see all of them are the same.
It's okay.
Sir. All right, all right. Okay, so members, because we've confirmed we are okay with that, Wilkista is saying someone is in horizontal position. Okay, members, we can have some 2 minutes break, then we do part C. Please do not be tempted to go to that position, especially if you have, okay, let's have some 2 minutes break. We resume for part C. In the States, the break starts now. Is one that we've already covered in some other areas. And the concept there is saying, prepare a chart. This is dashboard presentation and visuals. So this is one thing that we've done severally, and here we have it again. And I want you to look at the number of marks that is being allocated to that part. Very interesting. The examiner here is very interesting. This is a lot of temptation. And okay, you see, I was looking at 12, but I think 12 is in what we've done, right? 12 is in the part that we've done. Only this one for 12 marks. This examiner was very fair. Okay, interesting. This was a whooping 12 marks. Interesting. Look at what we've done. So the major thing that we've done was the interpretation coming up with the cost functions, and you get your 12 marks. This part is only having 2 marks, the presentation and dashboarding there. This is only where we have the 2 marks, and this is very simple part. I was wondering why they gave 12, but it's okay. 2 marks is okay, very befitting for this section. Now, we are told to prepare a chart plotting the predicted Y versus the actual Ys from the regression function determined in A above, and you're told to interpret your answer. Now, members, I was talking about interpretation, but before we come to the interpretation part, I want us to insert and do this chart. Now, to do the chart, I want us to go back to part A and bring on board the predicted Ys versus the actual Ys. And how do we do that? We come to our figures that we have here, and what I will do is very simple. I want to bring on board this information and the years and all that. So let me do the needful here. I want to do it down here. And which simpler way can I do it? Okay, I want to do it this way. I want to refer and then autofill. And I can either copy or just refer. We are working with the year 2021 like this, even though I'm seeing an empty space. And when inserting a chart, you don't need an empty space. So I may have to refer to it from the January part. And then once I do that, I will drag to December like that. Then I will autofill the rest like that. And this rest is the X and the Y. And of course, when I bring the X and the Y, of course, we have the total variable cost, which is also an element we need to present like that. So once I do that, someone was writing on our screen. Someone was writing on our screen. Okay. So once you do that, you can now give them the names. This was the year 2021. These were the months. Then the second column was about the X and Y, X and Y. Of course, you can either name them or just write X and Y. It's still okay. X and Y. And I want you to look at the language. There is a language the examiners used here, which is interesting. Prepare a chart plotting the predicted Y versus the actual Y. Now, which Y is this? Is it the predicted or the actual? Somebody. Which Y is this? Is it the predicted or the actual?
Actual.
This is the actual. Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. This is the actual Y. So I will just type the name actual here, actual Y. It is interesting, actual Y there. Then this part here, this is the total variable cost which we had computed, and I believe you still remember how we computed it, total variable cost there. Then we are also told to bring on what element? Predicted. Now we need predicted Y. Predicted Y now. Predicted Y. Now this is the Y that we have interpreted. This is the Y that we have interpreted. And remember, predicted Y, we already have all the elements we need for predicted Y. Yes? So predicted Y is the total of the total variable cost. Yes? And the total fixed cost. Remember, Y is the total cost, right? So if Y represents the total cost, we are predicting the total cost, then we need to bring on board fixed cost element, because we have two elements of cost. And my question is, do we have the fixed cost? And I want somebody to tell us the fixed cost. We have total variable. We need to bring on board total fixed cost before we come to the total cost. Predicted Y simply means the total cost we are predicting. So total fixed cost. Somebody tell us, where do we get the fixed cost? Where do we get the fixed cost? That is the concept the examiner was testing. Where do we get the fixed cost? Total fixed cost, where do we get it? That's what you are being tested on. So you have to know where you're getting it. Where are we getting the total fixed cost? Where are we getting it? Intercept. Thank you, members. Thank you. Very good. I'm happy we are together. Thank you. So the total fixed cost is the figure that we have as intercept in our output. You see this one here. This is what we are picking. This is what we have. And that fixed cost is fixed and it is constant. It is the constant that we have there. So what we do is we fully lock it. That figure there is not going to change across the months. It is fixed. It does not depend on the variations in the number of units of production. So it is constant. Make sure you fully lock it and bring it on board for all the months. So from here, we can get the total cost that is predicted. Predicted Y is the predicted total cost. So how do we get the predicted total cost? Remember, we are doing cost estimation. That is what has given us this variable, the fixed cost. And we already have the variable cost. And remember, you remember how we got the variable cost? We used the same concept of the output of analysis of cost estimation tool to get our variable cost. So that is already well taken care of. So we have everything we need. Let me just put a comma style to make all these my figures appear, uniform like that. So we come to the predicted Y, and it is the total of total variable plus the total fixed cost like that. I'm referring to them so that I just autofill by double clicking. You double tap, autofill to the end like that. Then once we have this is what we need to present in a chart. And how do we present it in a chart? We go and now insert. Go to the insert tab. The insert tab. What are we inserting? We insert. We come here and go to the charts. And before you insert, you have to identify the area you want to insert. What do you want to insert? You come and highlight on the range of data that you want to insert. You have to insert what you know. So you have to highlight whatever you want to insert. After you've told Excel that I want to insert this one, then you go to the insert tab, then you click on the arrow here, then you will already have recommendations. They will recommend that you can insert either of these ones here. You can insert the first one, the line graph. You can insert the clustered column. You can insert the stacked area. As I said yesterday in our session, no examiner will give you a guideline on which type of chart to use. It relies on your instincts. It relies on the type of data you're presenting and your understanding of the type of data and what you want to achieve with that data in line with the required. Remember, we are presenting the variations in the actual cost, the variable cost, the fixed cost, and the predicted cost. We are doing cost estimation. All these are figures. We don't have any percentage changes, but your instinct should guide you accordingly. The same question I asked you yesterday, that there are some charts that you should question yourself, ask yourself, if someone gives you as an output, will you be comfortable? And we've left somebody, Perez, behind. Perez, I will not say whether it's a he or a she. That's very sensitive nowadays. Nowadays, you have to be careful. But Perez, don't worry. Perez, I see members have already responded to you. Please check if you're comfortable so that you give us a go ahead if you look at what the responses given by members there, or you want us to go back all together. Perez, was your question answered to how to get the predicted Y? Perez, are you good? Ah, very nice. Very, very nice. Thank you. All right. So we come here and I was saying your type of data you're presenting should guide you on the chart that you use. For example, someone brings you this chart. You see the funnel one. This chart, the description says it represents stages in a process. Now, really, as a professional at this level, when presenting such type of data, will you really feel that somebody will understand if you give them this funnel chart? It is a type of chart, and it is among the recommended ones. Remember, when you present it, will it really be easily understandable by somebody? Looking at the way it appears, it may not really. There are other charts that will present it better than what funnel can do. Yes, what a funnel can do. We are not saying a funnel is bad. No, it does the job. It gives you the presentation. We are also not saying that the stacked area is a wrong chart. It is a type of chart that can be used. The only thing that you need to ask yourself, is it the best that you can get? Is it the best that you can get? Yes, because we always want something that is close to ideal, close to ideal. Now, is it the best that you can use to present your data? You'll realize that there are others that will present it in a much better way than what stacked area can do, what a funnel can do. If you look at this other recommended Pareto, it is not Pareto optimality, which I believe you know, just the Pareto. If you look at this type of chart, it shows or plots the distribution of data in a descending order of frequency. Now, members, you'll ask yourself, if you present this type of data that you have using Pareto, are we showing any descending order of frequencies? The answer is no. So is it the best you can use? You have others. Yes, Jaden, the Pareto optimality principle. It's a very interesting one. I don't want to go there because it will open other issues. All right. So you'll have to question yourself. And I want us to look at other recommendations. Look at the stacked area. Look at this line graph here. Line graph closely presents it, but this one is best used to show trend over time. Trend over time. Yes? Now look at this second one, clustered column. Fairly pretty understandable. It shows you, because this is always best used to compare data or values across a few categories. Of course, we have values here. So this one, I feel this one would best show our data. And I choose on it. You don't have to choose on it. If you feel the funnel will do the job for you, please go for the funnel. Yes, if you feel the funnel will do the job for you, please go for the funnel. The examiner will not restrict you, but the examiner is leaving this to you, your own judgment. But in my own judgment, I feel this one will really show my data well. Now, look at the alignment of variables. We have variables on the Y and the X. X has my months, which I feel is well arranged. It's okay, because it shows me that. Then you can see the columns there, they have different colors to represent the type of cost. We have the X, we have the actual Y, and all that. Now, my question is, what was the examiner in need of in our presentation? The examiner told us what to present. We have brought everything here, but the examiner told us prepare a plotting predicted Y versus actual Y. Yes, we have brought in other elements that the examiner did not want. Even though an examiner might not penalize you, but if you get a strict one, will simply want you to answer the question. Do not show them that you know. Just answer the question. Now, whenever you realize that you've brought on board elements that are excess, or maybe the alignment is not desired, or you need to adjust some of them, do not go back to insert again and undo and redo. No, just come to select data. Select data. When you come to select data, ask yourself, what don't you want to appear and what do you want to include? The options are there. Our horizontal axis, the x-axis, is well aligned with the months. So this one will not interfere with it. We will come to the legend entries. That is the y. That is the y. In our y, we only need two elements, actual y and predicted y. I don't need x. What do? I remove. I do not need the total variable cost. What do? I remove. I
When
don't
do
need
I
the
get
total fixed
select
cost. What
data?
do? I remove. So what do I remain with under the legend entries, the y-axis? Only the actual y and the predicted y. Someone is asking, where do I get select data? Click on your chart that you've inserted. Have you inserted the chart? Have you
Thank you, I've
inserted the
gotten it.
chart?
I've
All right.
gotten it.
All right, very good. Very good. So once I'm left with the two, which of course are the required, then I just say, okay. Yes, so I only have predicted y and actual y being presented according to what the examiner wanted us to do. And this, I told you, remember, whenever you are inserting a chart, do not forget to label the axis. Go to the plus sign. If you click on your chart, there is the plus sign, there is the brush, which is basically the chart styles. The picture looks like a brush. Then there is a picture showing something like a funnel. That is the filters of the chart. But those ones are not your interest at the moment. You go to the plus sign and click on it, the chart elements, you will see access titles. Just mark on it. Then label the axis. The y-axis there has the production costs. Production cost. Then the x-axis production cost. Then the x-axis there simply has the months. So just come there and name them months like that. Then the title, you give the title of what you've presented. What have we presented? This is which type of chart? Mostly, whenever you are giving the title of the chart, if you can, please name the type of chart that you've inserted. If you can, though not a must, but just to make sure you are safe all round. Make sure admin is saying the funnel won't. Okay, so the title of the chart I was saying, if you can, please name the type of chart that you've used. In our case, we used clustered column. So I can go ahead and say clustered column, clustered column chart. And what does it show? What does it show? Showing clustered column chart, showing we were told to present predicted y against actual y. So it is showing predicted, and actual production costs, actual production costs like that. Now, if you present such a thing to an examiner really will not have a reason to deny you marks because you've done all the jobs that is required. You've presented it. Even though I told you there are various advanced analyses where you may be required to go ahead and even come up with the errors, the labels, and all that. But at this point, and the trend line, you can even enter the trend line. But in this our case, this one is all what the examiner required. Just present this. Do not go excess in anything you're doing. In an exam, please do not go for aesthetics. Do not prove to the examiner that you know. The examiner knows that you know, but please just make sure you restrict yourself to answering the question. Some of us are fond to going excess. That's why when I was running the regression analysis, I told you there are those other elements. There is the plots and all that will always come if you click on them. But really, do not go excess. Just do what is required. No one really wants a proof if you understand further than that. Just answer the question and leave it there. All right? Do not go excess. Just answer the question and go home. Those other knowledge that you already have from that area is for your own good. But in an exam, the examiner is only interested in, please just give me, respond to what I'm asking. Members, I hope we are getting something out of that. Now, on the interpretation part, on the other elements that come out of your summary output, that is the part I wanted to touch on just slightly. I'm not going to go past the time. We have 9 minutes left. In the 9 minutes, those are enough for me to say what I wanted to say. Now, let's all look at the summary output, members. Members, let's look at the summary output. And I told you there are those elements of the output that may not be really, really significant at this point in time, like the significance Fs, the Fs, the standard errors, and the T stats, and there is also another one called the S stats and the P values. Leave those ones aside for now. They are good for data analysis, but to the extent of the BDA coverage, this is what is important. Remember, you'll be required to interpret the R squared. I'm highlighting it in yellow because examiners love it at this level, R squared. Now, this R squared, you have to really know how to interpret it. Now, R squared in our output is 0.9574 plus all those other decimal places. Can someone give me an interpretation of this R squared? Interpretation, how will you interpret that? Somebody try to interpret this, 0.9574.
95% confidence rate.
Thank you. That's a good trial. That's a very good trial. Thank you. Somebody else with a different opinion on how you can interpret this R squared? The reason why I'm asking you these, members, is because I told you to focus on concepts and to focus on the areas that the examiner can test. We've already covered a lot in this one question alone. That's why I normally tell you, you don't have to revise 100 of them. Once you get a good understanding of this, please just make peace with yourself and be confident you are going to pass this. Now, I'm on this other section that the examiner in this question did not ask, but I promise you, you might get it somewhere. User 1 is saying it shows a strong positive correlation. All right? Quite technical stuff there. Elo is saying 95.7% can be explained by factors under observation. Thank you, Elo. 95% is affected by time in months, while 5% of production is affected by other issues. All right, thank you. Other issues. Those are very good contributions there. Now, members, let's put what the fellows there are giving us. And they're all correct. The person who talked about 95% confidence level, you are correct. But there are specific terms that the examiner might be interested in looking at. Now, in answering this output question of R squared, I want you to focus on the variables you're working with. The variables you're working with are only, how many variables? You're working with production cost and quantity. Those are the variables that you have. Now, those two variables that you're working with are the ones that you will use to interpret and give an interpretation of your R squared. And Doreen is giving a suggestion there by saying 95.74% of variations in production cost is explained by units produced, while the rest is explained by other factors. Thank you, Doreen. So members, in interpreting the R squared, you simply refer to the variables that you have. Then ask yourself, which one is dependent and which one is independent? In this our case, production cost depend on the quantity. So if production cost is dependent on quantity, then pick on the explanations given by the members in that chat box and whatever the Doreen has given there, it directly explains it. That's why I'm not even worried, because members understand. Once you know the variables and the relationship, production cost depends on this, then go back to the R squared and you'll simply say that 95.74% of the changes in production cost, yes, 95.74% of changes in production cost is explained by changes in the quantity produced. Then the difference, just make sure when in your interpretation, give the difference in terms of figures. Yes, when you talk about 95%, 95, when maybe we work with two decimal places, 95.74%, 95.74%, get the difference and say, now, the remaining 4.26% of the changes in production cost are explained by other factors, not within consideration, or other factors rather other than quantity produced, other factors other than quantity produced, other factors other than quantity produced. So that is what will explain the remaining 4.26. Members, I hope we are getting it. Maybe let me just type in that interpretation here. I'm just doing it because sometimes we just do the Lord's work. 95. I hope someone has not thought deeply about what I've just said. 95.74% of changes in production cost. 95.74% of changes in production cost is explained by changes in quantity, changes in quantity produced, like that. Don't use a lot of words. There are those specific words the examiner will always be looking for. So just say 95.74% of change in production cost is explained by changes in quantity produced. Then full stop, just put a full stop. Then say 4.26%. You've gotten the difference between the 95 and the 100. So just continue by saying 4.26% changes in production cost, changes in production cost. Production cost is influenced. I'm thinking of the correct words to use that will not be too wordy. 4.26% changes in production cost is influenced by other factors other than. Don't just leave it at other factors. Other factors other than quantity produced like that. That is a very simple interpretation, and the wordings here will really give you all the interpretations you need for that question there. And that's how you interpret the R squared. So R squared is very important. And to get the R squared here, the R squared that we already have, we have 2 minutes to go, and I'm looking at that time very well. So to get this R squared, that is already displayed there, someone might tell you to get R squared. Besides using the regression analysis, how else can you get R squared? Now, the R square, how do you normally get R squared? You get R squared by explained sum of squares. Explained sum of squares. Then you divide that by the total sum of squares. The TSS, you divide by the total sum of squares. This is not common. So explained sum of squares in some other tools, they normally just represented by the ESS. Explained sum of squares, and the total sum of squared is normally denoted by TSS, total sum of squared. Very interesting, very, very interesting tools. Now, in this our case, which output here do you think represents the explained sum of squares? Somebody? Which one do you think represents explained sum of squares? They are all here in our output. Explained sum of squares. Which one do you think denotes it? Explained sum of squares. Sammy say you got me. Okay. Explained sum of squares. The SS. Okay. Sum of squares. Correct. So I will put an equal sign and pick on the SS. SS. Is it SS residual or SS regression or SS total? You need to know which one are you picking. Which SS? Which SS? Regression, all right? SS regression. So where is regression? Good. We are dividing by the TSS. Which one denotes the TSS? Which one denotes the TSS in our output? Which one denotes the TSS in our output? The total. Okay. Okay. So once we do that, we pick on the total there, and we see if it will give us the same output, and the answer is yes. We already have proven that our R squared is the same as this. Members, I hope you've seen that very simple part. It will help you to understand the output and be able to explain it. It is 7 a.m. and I do not want to proceed past that time. What I have to say is thank you, members,